Hi, I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And this is ReDIScover, a conversation where we travel through everything that makes up the essence of who we are and how to live authentically and imaginatively.
Here, we invite you to join us as we explore and discuss a little bit of, well, everything.
From Disney to cultivating your most authentic life to deepening your relationships and talking about the real stuff.
We hope you'll find this a space that speaks to you, encourages you, and brings a little bit of magic into your day.
Hello everyone, I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And welcome back to this week's episode of ReDIScover.
If you've been around at all this month, you know we are taking some time to celebrate motherhood and the relationship between mothers and daughters. If you've been listening, you know that we talked to Jess's mom last week, and I hope that your tear ducts have recovered from that episode because I don't know if ours have, but today I am so excited because we are here all together with my mom, and I'm just really excited to share this with her. Like, I know your mom feels like I'm just like a second child, and I know my mom feels like Jess is a second daughter, or a third, because she does have another one. But I'm just so excited to be able to do this and to kind of create this time capsule and to have this time with both of our moms. So, without further ado, hi, Mom. Welcome to ReDIScover.
Hello.
We're so happy you're
This
here.
is Sue. To give you a little background, Sue is my mom. She is the mother to me, my older brother Michael, my younger sister Sarah. She is a nursing professor. You're going on almost 40 years.
39 years.
Yeah, which is awesome. So without further ado, let's dive in.
Was there a moment that you decided you wanted to have children, or did you always know?
Well, I've always loved children. When I was a little girl, I had all my baby dolls, and I mothered every one of them. And so I always knew I wanted to be a mom. And I always, because I became a pediatric nurse, of course, that also was part of my love of children. So I kind of always knew. Yeah.
So cute.
So pure. What are some of your favorite memories, or maybe just some really significant ones from over the course of our relationship and all the seasons of my life so far of almost 26 years? I'm not trying to exclude Michael and Sarah, but they're not here, so we can just talk about you and me, if that's cool.
Sure. So, starting very early on, Kristen was always my shadow. So everywhere I was, she was right there with me, talking constantly.
Nothing has changed.
A funny memory of with her is that I used to have to set the timer for 5-minute intervals because sometimes she talked so much that I just needed like a 5-minute period of silence because, when you're a mother, and I was a stay-at-home mom, I gave up my career for a while to raise my children because I wanted to raise my children. And so I used to set the timer for 5 minutes and ask her not to speak during those 5 minutes so that I could just have a little sanity, to be honest. And then once it went off, of course, she would begin talking again. So it's funny to think back on that now, but nothing has really changed because just the other day we were out and about and she was talking, and then she looked at me and I think I probably had that look like, oh my gosh. And she said, should I set the timer? And I'm like, yes.
Good thing we started a podcast in that case.
Don't give Jess any ideas, Mom.
Oh my God.
And this is the 5-minute interval of ReDIScover where Kristen says nothing.
Oh my God.
So that's an early memory. And then also just, some of the things we used to do, just her and I, like when we would drop Michael off for her older brother for preschool, we would go to lunch together. She'd always get grilled cheese or macaroni and cheese. But it was our thing to do.
Because I'm not stupid.
I'm not shocked by that information.
And we would have little tea parties, which we still do, and more adult versions of those. But at night we would do, with all of the kids, we would do story time, and but each one got their individual time when I would tuck them in, and hers was a tickle rub and butterfly kisses before we said our prayers and good night. So that was always a special memory. Holidays were always, of course, magical with all three of them, but Kristen always seemed to get the most excited about the holidays and really had to do them up big still. Even when she was grown, we still had to put the carrots for the reindeer and the the milk and cookies out for Santa and all of that. So, and then of course, just watching her grow and to the woman that she is, going to all her ballet recitals and nutcracker performances and musicals and our Disney trips, which were always exciting. She was our tour guide, of course. And then now just, spending time as adults, watching our favorite shows on TV or having tea together or hot cocoa or just simple things, taking walks, but just spending time together. It's just been awesome.
We love the Great British Bake Off, don't we, Mom?
Yes, we do.
It's a great show. What is one thing you found particularly challenging about being a mother? And then what's one thing you feel like you really got right?
Well, that's challenging. There are many challenges to being a parent, but probably some that are really hard is when your children are hurting. You want to protect and shelter them from any hurt or pain, and when they hurt, you hurt right along with them, and it's just so hard because you just want to take it away, and but sometimes you can't, and then just letting them spread their wings when they get older. That's also very hard because you just want to keep them young and tucked in their little beds, and they're safe there at night, and when they're older and they're out and you don't know where they are, and it's just hard. It's hard to let go.
Yeah.
And then things I got right, well, I think with all three of my children, and I hope I got this right, of course, through the grace of God, right? So they all seem to persevere, and I think I've instilled that into them. Like, when things get tough, the tough get going. They've heard that a zillion times. Do what you got to do to make it happen, and you take your moment to be sad, and you cry and you wallow in it, and then you pick yourself up and you keep on going. And I think I've instilled that in them, and standing up for what's right even when it's not popular, just doing the right thing and standing up for it. I think I've taught them that, sometimes maybe too much. And then just to pursue their dreams, whatever they are. If it's something that they really desire, then they have to make it happen. They have to do what they have to do to make it happen. And I hope that I instilled that into them as well. So those are the things I think I got right.
You did.
I definitely think you did.
You did.
From an outside perspective.
The persevering thing got me, I think. Because I think about that.
You were just talking about this.
I was?
Where you were like, well, my mom would just tell me to, okay, figure it out. Keep going.
Yeah, and it would be frustrating sometimes because I'd be like, I can't figure it out. You have to help me. You have to do this. I can't do this on my own. And I think as frustrating as it was, I learned that I'm still even figuring out I'm actually more capable than I think I am.
Yeah.
And it helps to think of that and to think of you when I get into those situations, and I'm trying not to cry right now. For those of you who don't know, my parents are divorced, and my mom did spend several years kind of being effectively a single mother. So Mom, I was kind of hoping you could speak to the realities of that and kind of trying to balance being both mom and dad when you didn't have someone else to kind of cohabitate this team with you.
It was tough. It's hard being both mom and dad because by nature we moms are the more nurturing individual, and the dads are usually more the disciplinarian, but when you're the only person you kind of have to wear both hats, so that was a little tough to do. yeah, I had to be strong even when it was tough, and I had to be, persevere without showing those struggles to my children. I couldn't let them know, when I was hurting or struggling. I tried to maintain a normalcy for them so that they didn't, pick up on my struggles, so they could have as normal a childhood as possible. That was my goal, so that they could just have this normal childhood that was without, the stressors that come along with the divorce, without including them in all of that struggles that go between, you and your ex-husband or ex-wife, whatever it may be, leaving them out of it. They didn't need to be a part of it. They didn't need to know what was going on. So I definitely tried hard not to burden them with any of it. I used to try to, even though we were on a very tight budget, still make things special for them. I would go to garage sales and I would buy toys that looked like they were in pretty good shape, and I would clean them up, and then I'd wrap them up and put them under the tree for Christmas or in a bag for their birthday gifts. Shopped a lot of clearance for clothing, things like that. You can do it on a budget. And so I did things like that, just trying to maintain that sense of normalcy, and also reaching out to those. I didn't have any family. My family lives in another state, so I had to rely on friends, from church and neighbors, and when they offer help, you have to be okay with accepting it. And that wasn't easy either, but we did it, and we made it. And you realize that through it all, you're a lot stronger than you think you are.
What do you think would have happened? I'm ambushing you here.
Uh-oh.
What do you think? Because I know my mother is a very strong human being, and you don't like to ask for help, and you do like to kind of be self-sufficient. And I noticed that same kind of stubborn tendency in myself as I get older. I don't like to ask for help, and I sort of even reject when people offer it because I feel like I should be able to just deal with it. But what do you think would have happened if you would have sort of let us see that you were hurting? And the reason I ask is because I do have this one memory that's very vivid in my mind, and I think you were trying to conceal it, but I remember you sitting in our living room at the old house, and you were sitting in that rocking chair, and the one by the piano, and you were crying. And I think I came and crawled into your lap, and I asked you why you were crying, and you sort of just didn't tell me, but you were just trying to kind of get it together. And I just kind of remember feeling I want to make it better, but I didn't know what was wrong, so I didn't know how to do that. But I wonder do you feel looking back now, you feel you did the right thing by just acting like everything was fine, or do you feel you sort of did yourself a little bit of a disservice by compressing everything just so we would think everything was fine,
No, I would still have done it the same way, because I didn't compress everything. I did around you guys, but I had friends that when you were in bed at night, I would call my family or my friends.
Yeah.
And that's when I would, cry and unleash or share what was going on. And then
the adults.
The adults. And I went for Christian counseling as well, because you do need to talk to, others.
We're big into therapy
share.
around here.
Yeah. But children tend to feel like it's their fault when you're going through a divorce. So I certainly didn't want to add to that.
Yeah.
So I just felt like, I just wanted their lives to be as normal and happy, because that's what childhood should be. Carefree. Children should just be happy and carefree, and they shouldn't have to worry about life's burdens. Yeah. That's what childhood is. And so it was my goal to just have that for them, and I could take care of the adult stuff.
Yeah. Well, I like when you this is gonna sound weird. I was gonna say I like when you cry now. I don't like when you cry because I don't like when you're hurting. But I like that. Our relationship has kind of evolved, and we can, like, there is nothing I won't talk to you about. I feel like you are the person I can be like the most vulnerable with, and I'm very thankful for that. So
I'm glad.
Anyway.
We've both talked about our desire to have children of our own someday. So what advice would you offer to us or to any woman in general who is either a mom or feels called to motherhood down the road?
So I guess first I would say, that motherhood is a commitment. It's a lifelong commitment. It doesn't end. I have a mother who's going to be 89. And, sometimes she'll tell me, oh, I was worried about this for you or that for you. And I'll find myself saying to her, Mom, you don't need to worry. I'm okay. She said, no matter how old your children get, you are always a mother.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to cry.
Moms make you cry.
So I think, just entering into motherhood, just know that it's an experience and a love like you have never had or imagined. You can't even fathom it until it happens, and you look at that little baby, and it's just so reliant on you for everything, and you've got to step up to the plate and be that child's everything, right? So it's a huge commitment, so it shouldn't be taken lightly, and you have to be ready to give and give a lot. And I would say don't enter into it until you are ready to commit and give.
Yeah.
And remember, children are like sponges. They absorb everything they see and hear you doing. So you can't be that do as I say, not as I do parent, because that doesn't work. You have to be that I'm setting the example role model for your child, and know that whatever they see you doing, whatever they hear you saying, negative talk, positive talk, whatever it is, that's what they're going to learn, and that's what they're going to parrot.
I think parrot is a good word to use here.
And so to that point, when you're, raising your children, I would say as much as you can, be positive and encouraging, but not to the point of being false. I would say be honest. I think sometimes, as parents, you can overdo, and
because you just want to be like encouraging.
But you don't want to. You don't want to say things that aren't true, right? So
honesty is big in our family.
It is, and it's important, because in the real world, they've got to face that, right?
Yeah.
So
I think the example you're trying not to give is my biological father was one to kind of just to give an example. Would kind of sugarcoat everything and say oh, you're doing amazing, and it just didn't feel genuine. I never knew when it was a compliment and when it was just I don't know what else to say, so I'm going to tell you you're doing amazing. You're doing great, sweetie. But I never knew. And when my mom would give a compliment, because I could trust her to be honest and forthright, I think that was the example you were trying not to give, because it would just sort of feel fake, honestly. And I would never believe it. And so those were not, you look to your parents to encourage you, and those accolades you keep with you, and they motivate you. And if they're not genuine, then they're not going to do what they're meant to do. Whereas if she says oh, I'm really proud of you when my report card was good or something, I took that, and that was kind of motivation to keep doing well.
And I guess lastly, I would just say that motherhood is the hardest job I have ever had, but the most rewarding.
Because it's 24/7, 365.
365, 24/7. You're always in the spotlight. You're always on call. You're always everything. And, your children are looking up to you. And so you want to make sure that you're giving them something to look up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always make this joke, and I think I've even said it on this podcast about how, like, you specifically have all these just, like, life hacks. Like, you just have a tip for everything. Or if I have, like, a stain that's really weird, you're like, oh, well, you just mix these 3 things and it makes it all come cleaner. You just, like, have all these hacks, and I feel like I always tell you, like, you need to write me a book. Like, I need them all written down. Like, how to get through life. So basically, I'm going to need you to teach that course. But for now, can you just give like 3 specific tips or mom hacks that you think every parenting book should include? That like you didn't find in the ones that you read, but things that you learned along the way.
Okay, just 3, huh?
Well, really as many as
I
you
mean,
Well,
want, but people do have places to be today.
Okay. Well, they could take us with them.
That's
true.
Aw. We are portable.
We are portable.
Well, I'll start with a newborn baby because some will say to you when you have a newborn, don't hold that baby too much, you'll spoil it. And I'm going to say to you, you cannot hold a newborn baby too much. They are newborn for such a short period of time. And before you know it, they aren't going to want you to hold them because they're going to want to explore the world. And so I say, hold that baby. Hold that baby as much as you can. Love it. Hug it.
I love that. I would
you know,
also like to be held.
I would say also hug and tell your children that you love them every day. Don't assume that they know. Because I think sometimes we feel like, well, our family, they know I love them, but you know, sometimes we scold our children, right? Because they did something wrong or we correct them. I've said to my children often, you know, I'm not your best friend because a best friend isn't going to discipline you. They aren't going to tell you when, you know, what you're doing wrong. But I am the best friend you'll ever have because
Susan is confident. We're going to have you back for Confidence Week.
Because, you know, a mom loves her children unconditionally. She'll love them through the good, the bad, the ugly. I think sometimes we assume like our children know that we love them, but I try to make a point with my kids at least once a day, and it was usually nighttime. But even throughout the day, I would hug them, but definitely tell them that I love them every single day because it's so important. And
It's true, she does.
And I think too, you know, what I learned through my parenting that kids do best with a routine and consistency. They need to know what to expect, what's coming. I think that's important. I also would say, and I've seen this in my nursing career, pediatrics, is that just talking to parents is don't ever start anything with your child that you don't plan to do for a very long time. For example, letting them sleep in your bed with you or you sleeping in their bed when they're having trouble getting to sleep at night. Well, unless you plan to be sleeping with them until they enter high school or vice versa, I would say don't do it. You know, calm them down, but have the expectation that they sleep in their bed because it's their bed and you sleep in yours. Let's see. Oh, and cooking meals. This is a biggie. So I never cooked special meals for my children.
Oh, that's true.
Whatever I was cooking, that's what we all ate. And if it was something new that they had never eaten, I put 1 spoonful on their plate and they had to consume that 1 spoonful. Yeah. And I can tell you by doing that, they learned to like a lot of things that they didn't think they were going to like.
I mean, I literally eat everything.
Yeah. And then my very last tip, I would say, and I know this is more than 3, but
I'm glad.
Jess is over here
I'm like,
pray and read with your children from the day. I used to pray to my children when they were still inside. But then once they were born, from the day they were born, I would open a storybook and read a story every night to them from the day 1 in the hospital till they never, they no longer wanted to sit with
till
mom.
Like later tonight when we have story time.
and pray with them. And pray with them at night before they go to bed. And I had that routine, like in the evening, it was, all right, everybody's getting their bath. And then we all would jump in one of the beds, and snuggle up together and read a bedtime story, say our prayers, and lights out, it's good night time. I just think it's important to just have that routine and do that. And all 3 of my children are readers.
That's true. Yeah.
So
that's great.
I think,
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that was more than 3.
Don't
It's
apologize.
okay.
We love them all.
Honestly, your enthusiasm is adorable.
Okay. So can you talk a little bit about the balance between wanting to instill certain values in your children and then allowing them to freely express who they are?
So I think when children are young, it's our responsibility as a parent to give them a solid foundation. So I chose to stay home with my children and kind of give up my career to raise them because that's what I believed I wanted to do. I wanted children badly, and I wanted to be with them. I didn't want to miss anything. So
Jess's mom said the same thing.
So
I know I'm going to be the same way.
Yeah.
So.
We made the sacrifice and managed to do it on one income, and it worked. But we as parents need to instill our values and morals and beliefs and give our children that foundation. But then as they grow and become adults and become independent thinkers, we have to allow them that opportunity to, think for themselves and decide what it is they believe and what their values are. And I guess if you give them a good foundation, they're going to stick pretty close to that, but they are also going to develop some of their own thinking, and we have to be okay with that. If it's not in line with our own, then that's okay. And that's that unconditional love that you have to give as a parent,
Yeah, I think the word discerning comes to mind. I think you and my stepdad too are very scientific thinkers, so you sort of always taught us to kind of always be auditing ourselves and I believe this, but why, checking in, making sure it's still aligned and still relevant to where we're going.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing to think a certain way, and people can think however they want, but I think what we tried to get across to you guys is that you need to look at the concrete evidence. Don't just believe what somebody's telling you. Do your own research and come up with your, a solid, grasp of what you believe based on what you've sought out, the information.
Yeah, be able to defend it.
Yeah.
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 How do you kind of cope with the desire and the perceived need to fix everything or heal everything for us, knowing that you're only human? Sometimes I question that, but I think she's only human. And some things are just simply beyond your control.
Wow. That's one of the hardest parts of parenting is watching your children hurt, or in any way, big or small. You want to fix all your children's problems. And believe me, I've certainly tried interfered, overstepped the line more than once, trying to fix their problems.
Comes from a good place.
It does.
You just want your children to be happy, and when they are hurting, as much as it's hard for them to probably understand, I feel like I hurt 10 times more. So we always want to fix their problems and make them better, but sometimes we can't. So what I do is I just pray, pray a lot, and just be there for them. Listen, offer suggestions when they ask. Sometimes they may not like what you have to offer, but you offer it anyway, and then it's their choice as to whether to, take your advice or not, but just kind of be there. No, through the thick and the thin, I think my kids know no matter what happens, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
I think I've said this before, but you are the only person in my life that is I know there is nothing that I can do that will make you just disassociate yourself from me. And I think that like I struggle a lot with like the integrity piece, and this totally, you guys, goes back to my Enneagram number, which, fun fact, my mom and I are both Enneagram 1s. But the integrity piece and the just always wanting to be right or righteous or good. And whenever I feel like I've fallen away from that, you're the only person who I feel like I can fully just kind of like unravel to. You're the rock, you know.
What milestones of Kristen's life have been the hardest for you and which bring you joy to reflect on?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I'm excited to hear these.
Well, for me, every milestone was joyful and sad. So, for example, when she got her first tooth, it was like exciting because she got her first tooth. But it was also sad because I was no longer going to see that cute little toothless grin. And so I cried. Oh no, she got her first tooth. And then I would cry like, and then, when she went to preschool, of course, I was brave and took her in and, oh, you're going to have a great time. And I cried all the way back to my car and sobbed, really, like pathetically sobbed.
It's not pathetic.
And then, when she went to middle school and high school and graduated from high school, and then when she went to Florida to Disney to do the college program, that was really hard because that was the first time she moved away and she was only 19, and I sobbed on the Magical Express all the way to the airport. After I left her, sobbed on the airplane, sobbed for weeks. Still sob.
If it makes you feel any better, I sobbed on the floor of my Chatham Square apartment while all my roommates were having like a bonding movie night. I was just sitting by myself sobbing. Yeah.
I mean, with each milestone, you're happy, and I encouraged her. Like, I encouraged, she was a little hesitant about doing the college program, and I encouraged her and told her, I think you need to do it, and I think, you'll be awesome, and she, so you encourage them to do things, but at the same token, it makes you sad because, with every milestone, they're just that much closer to being an adult and that much closer to flying the nest. And I'd have to say that that's the hardest part. For me, the hardest part about parenting is letting them spread their wings and go. Yeah. That is absolutely the hardest part because at night, you don't know where they are. You don't know when they're safe. I'm going to cry. Because when they're little, you tuck them in at night and you know they're there. But when they're grown up, you don't know.
That milestone particularly was like very bittersweet. But as an experienced mom of 3 grown-up humans, what guidance do you hope will keep in kind of our arsenal as we navigate this world and all of its complexities? If you could kind of like tie it up with a bow and just give us something to keep in our back pocket everywhere we go.
Probably to always remember that life is a precious gift, and you should cherish and respect it at every stage, from start to finish. Love yourself and your family unconditionally, always. And I guess pray for strength and guidance every day. That you can do what you need to do and do it well. And then for me and my children, I always, hoped and would encourage them to just keep God at the center of their life. So pursue your dreams and do what you need to do to see them to fruition.
Yeah, you definitely are like the human embodiment of that whole like dreams don't work unless you do. My mom is basically Princess Tiana, actually. now that I think about it, you are. You remind me so much of her.
Well, dreams just don't fall. What you want in life doesn't usually just fall in your lap. You have to be the facilitator.
Yeah.
Take that inspired action.
Yeah.
Keep moving
Yeah.
forward.
Or something to that effect.
So those are all of our planned questions for you, but we also have our final rapid fire questions that we ask all of our ReDIScover guests. So we are excited to ask them to you as well. So the first one we always ask is, what does living authentically mean to you?
Well, it just means being true to yourself, being honest, and to yourself or with yourself and to others always, no matter whether it's convenient, popular, or whatever. Just always being honest and true.
That is pretty much exactly what I thought you were going to say. If you could travel to one place anywhere in the entire world right now, where would it be and why?
And you will probably know that
Yes,
I'm going to
I
say
do.
this. This is something I've been saying for many, many years. I've been there once in my lifetime, and I've always wanted to go back. So I would say I would like to be on a Disney cruise to Bermuda.
Ooh, fun.
I've never cruised
But you
there.
have to say why.
Why? It's just, I don't know. Bermuda is just so serene and beautiful, and I don't know. I just remember the feeling of being there in my 20s, which was a few years ago. And it was just so amazing, and I just have always wanted to go back.
Does it feel like a hug?
Feels like a really warm hug.
Like a tropical hug.
Like a
love
tropical
that.
hug.
Oh my goodness, that's so fun. Okay, what is one thing you would be doing every day if your life were free of limitations?
Money's not an issue. Illness doesn't exist.
Time,
Time is not a problem.
location.
I would have all my children back and spend time with them.
Just fun.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh.
Spend as much time with them as I could.
Limitless
so
time.
What is one childlike quality that you think would be beneficial if adults utilized it in their daily lives?
So I think, when you see children when they do things, they just, they have that wonder and awe in everything that they do. So they just get excited about the little things, a little grasshopper hopping across the grass, whatever it is. They are just so excited and in wonderment and in awe. And I think if we all could look at each other and the differences that we all are and be in awe and wonderment of those, because it's pretty amazing. Let's face it, if everybody in the world were like us, ourselves, how boring would it be? So if we just and children don't see differences and they don't have preconceived notions or
Yeah. They don't care about ethnicity or gender.
They're just happy and excited to be and to do and to experience. And I guess we lose that as we become adults, and it's sad. And so if we could keep that would be amazing, and this world would be so much better place to live.
I agree. I couldn't agree more, actually. I love it. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here, Mom.
It was so fun.
Thanks for having me.
It was an honor.
It is. Thank you for being vulnerable and opening up, and thank you for being my mom.
Oh,
Thank you for choosing me every day, even, I'm going to cry, even on the days when you need to set a timer.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for you and all that you are. Thank you guys so much for listening. I know that this month has been pretty emotional.
In the best way, though. I feel like these are some of my favorite episodes because they are the most vulnerable and authentic and true to our essences in our lives. So it really is so great to have you on here and to have my mom on here and for us to talk about things like this, because you don't often stop to have such an in-depth conversation about these things.
Yeah.
So it's really great. Thank you again for coming on here, Sue. It's so much fun to chat with you.
Thank you. I loved it.
Good.
You can find Sue on Instagram
Oh my god.
at mama_Frump. Is that right?
I'm not
I don't
sure.
know.
You set it up.
She doesn't really post much, you guys, but
No.
head on over there.
Oh my gosh.
And we are going to continue this month. Next week, we're going to have a little bit of a different perspective. We are going to talk to a millennial mom.
So stay tuned to see who we're bringing on the show. It'll be a fun throwback for some of you guys who have
Yes.
been around for like 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. So thank you guys again so much for listening. Thank you, Sue, for being here. And we are looking forward to talking to you next week.
We're going to go eat some pasta now.
Oh, I'm so excited.
We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of ReDIScover.
Please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening. Your reviews are what keep us going, and we'd love to hear from you.
Join us every Tuesday for a new conversation and let us know what you think we should talk about next.
Follow us on Instagram at positively.kristen and at jessicafaye508. And check out Jess's blog at theroadjesstraveled with 1l.com.
Until next time,
Stay frumpy.